Well, it looks like this time Harry and Meghan really are over, and it's all just really sad, this whole situation. I mean, I have a very simple question. Why in the world did this evil woman come after the royal family, come after Harry with such statistical precision? What hidden agenda did she really have? And has she been successful with this, or is this just a game? Is it now too boring to her? She doesn't want to play it anymore. Does anybody actually have the answer? I mean, they have made all of us sick with so many lies. They have told as many lies as they could possibly think up. So now Harry is going back to dig up some more sparks, I guess. Meghan Markle is a malignant narcissist. We know that. And this is a form of mental disturbance in answer to her own personal trauma as she was growing up. Now, the truth is, all of us experienced trauma as we were growing up. It's like what Gabor Mate says, along with a lot of science supporting his statements. There are two kinds of trauma. So the first kind is the more severe type of trauma, like Harry's trauma, where he lost his mother at a young age so suddenly. And then there's Meghan's type of trauma. That's a lowercase t trauma, which is what people didn't do for her as she was growing up, and she needed help figuring out the daily disappointments and the problems that she experienced in life. Meghan's father, Thomas Markle, worked very hard to give her all kinds of material goods, but unfortunately he didn't necessarily provide her with the emotional support that she really needed. In fact, he lied to her about how important she was in the world. He told her the importance of looking right into the camera and feigning a smile, and also how to find the best lighting to make herself look as best as she possibly can. It's all very phony, though, and Meghan has to steal ideas from other people because she is obviously incapable of forming an original thought. Her mother was absent, and that plays a big role in her feeling rejected. So no, Meghan Markle really didn't have a normal upbringing, and so she learned to just lie better and to develop these complicated alternative realities that she would use to disassociate. It's all pretty sad. Now, Meghan and Harry became the ultimate duo of victimhood, and they thought they were united in their trauma, but being victims of their trauma rather than using it to actually grow from and having adults around them to help them understand their common suffering. It's true that life isn't fair, but that's true for everybody. What you do with these unfair moments determines how successful and how well adjusted you're going to be as an adult. Now, Harry is not really a narcissist, but Meghan definitely is, so she's going to be a more difficult case. She is very narcissistic, and she comes by this characteristic as a solution to the pain that she had to endure as a child. Now, pain is pain. It doesn't really matter how big or small the pain is. The scars left in our brains and ways of being are exactly the same. It doesn't matter whether it's big trauma like what Harry experienced or small-time trauma like what Meghan went through. Both Meghan and Harry have some serious mental health disturbances. They're mentally ill and they're just acting out. Harry claims that he has had therapy, but that therapist must not have been very good. They are very damaged individuals. They're just using Harry's connections and the name Prince to do whatever they want. Luckily, the royal family didn't sue them. I mean, they should count their lucky stars for that. Actually, I would probably donate money if the royal family needs funds to pay for a good lawyer. Both Meghan and Harry are people who desperately need some serious help. The prognosis for Harry is, I would suspect, a little bit better than Meghan. If he gets some good therapy, and maybe has a few family sessions too, then I think he could get his closest family members on the same page. They could begin to rebuild the bridges that Harry has burned. And it's very frustrating when the identified problem is treated, but the family won't come along. So it ends up the problem is set back into the exact same set of relationships that somehow supported these maladaptive behaviors. So in therapy, it's not only about teaching the patient new ways of behaving and new ways of being, but you have to get the family on board too, or else the patient is in serious danger of just regressing because they basically go right back into the same petri dish. Everybody has to create new boundaries and new sets of firm support for healthier relationships. Actually, it can be a win-win situation for everyone involved, but who out there wants to risk vulnerability in order to grow? Many people cannot see that actually being open to your vulnerability is a way to grow and a way to become healthier and stronger. The world often misunderstands it and shouts loudly, "Oh, this person is weak." Now, actually, we have many examples of that from people who are so angry, they just let their anger flow out, and there's no examination, no self-examination that maybe they're the problem. It's pretty easy to recognize in other people what we often try to hide in ourselves. And I'm thinking Harry may try to make a permanent return to the UK, and he may try to work for his family once again. Now that's a pretty complicated question though. Theoretically, he could definitely come back home to the UK, but for over 3 years now, he has supported Meghan Markle in all these attacks against his family, not only against the institution actually, but also individual family members. And he has caused so much damage with his insults. The current working royals have separated their personal feelings from their work duties. A working royal is somebody who is carrying out duties on behalf of the monarch, and these are duties the monarch has specifically assigned to them. When he was married to Meghan, Harry completely failed in those duties, and it cost a lot of time and money to smooth over all the damage that he allowed Meghan to create. I suspect that having proven himself unreliable back then, he's probably not going to be given another chance. See, being a working royal is actually quite stressful, and Harry probably does not have the mental strength or the commitment to succeed. In my opinion, maybe Harry needs to figure out something else to do with his life. He is never going to be a diplomat, and a large part of the public role that working royals undertake is serving as a diplomat of sorts. If some of the reports are true that Harry had problems with private information and leaks that to the public, well, if that's true, then that is not a point in his favor, because working royals are expected to undertake state visits, and they have got to hold their counsel when meeting foreign dignitaries. Harry's already said that he has some issues about returning to the UK. He feels very stressed out when he does come to visit. Now, he's 38 years old, so he still has not come to terms with the trauma that he went through when he was a little boy, when he was only 12. Is it fair for Harry to make him constantly have to go through that trauma again and again and again? If he comes back, I'm sure that he's going to have suffered a real mental shock, even without thinking about what's going to happen to the invisible kids. So what I believe is it would be unreasonable to expect Harry to participate in the duties of a working royal. If he does come back, I suspect they're not going to allow him to represent the monarch in any official capacity. I am afraid that his emotional damage is going to be too extreme. So let's talk about his honorary military titles. Now, they were granted to him in return for working on behalf of the monarch. On official occasions, Harry is representing the particular branch of the military to the public. And on more private occasions that involve that particular regiment, his attendance is simply as a senior member of the royal family, so at those functions he would be representing the monarch. After his performance in similar roles, what regiment would actually feel honored if Harry were appointed in an honorary capacity to publicly represent them? I mean, how could anybody forget that Harry skipped a dinner to honor fallen comrades just to go to a film premiere and try to get some work for Meghan Markle? I think a king would be viewed as insulting the regiment if he appointed Harry to represent them. Let's remember, when Harry quit, he lost those honors. Other members of the royal family were assigned to those places to maintain the connections between the military and the monarchy. It's not like they could just leave all those positions empty awaiting Harry's return. Instead, they had to be filled to maintain continuity, so those posts are not available to him even if he wants them. In conclusion, Harry is a prince of the royal family, so if he comes back to the UK to live, he's still going to be a family member, of course. But I think it is very unlikely that his family will be able to trust him enough to have him work as a working royal again. And he's also despised by many people in the UK, so if he comes to any public event, it's probable that he will be booed at that event, and that's not going to help his mental condition whatsoever. And it's also not going to help the reputation of any regiment that maybe Harry was granted an honorary rank in. His resignation was accepted, but maybe it would have been possible upon his return that he would have eventually had some recognition for service to the monarch, but still he would have needed to prove himself over a period of time. Well, Harry has spent the last 3 years trashing his family, and it's going to take a very long time indeed for him to even begin to regain some of the trust that he's lost.